Hey, how's it going? I'm Laila Noor, and I'm taking you on a journey across our nation and around the world. You'll hear my conversations with people doing fascinating work and living life in extraordinary ways. You'll listen to me and my guests tackle taboo topics that might make you squirm. You'll learn about forgotten stories that never or rarely get covered in mainstream media. You'll also just hear me talking and having fun with people who I love. This is Unheard Voices. Are you ready? Let's go! Today I caught up with a Canadian in Colombia, eh? Josh Fink is a tour guide and business owner who has spent almost 15 years working and living in Central and South America. He was one of my trip leaders when I explored Costa Rica in the summer of 2017. Josh recently moved to Colombia to continue living out his passion, currently nestled up in the colorful Andean village of Guatape, and soon heading over to the Caribbean beach town of Palomino. Josh chatted with me about his life on the road, the tourism industry, and what's in store for him next. Take a listen.
Hello? Hey,
Hello?
can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Can you see me?
No, I can't see you. You have to turn on the video option.
There we go. Sorry, I don't use Zoom too often. I used it before. And
Yeah, good
there
to
we
see
go.
you.
Yeah, you too. How's it going?
Good. Where are you sitting?
I am on my balcony
Nice.
in Guatape.
Beautiful view. How's the
Yeah,
weather?
it's not too bad. It's always the same here. It never
Yeah,
changes. It's always like perfect spring weather.
sounds
Pretty
like
much.
paradise.
Yeah, I mean, it rains pretty much either every night or every day, or like usually a little always, but
Cool. Are you comfy?
I think I am. Yeah, I got
Okay,
some beers here.
good. Well, I'm glad we could connect. And it's been so long since we last spoke. The last time we saw each
Yeah,
other was when I was in Canada, actually. It was shortly after I visited Costa Rica for the first time. And you've been traveling all over since then.
yeah. I haven't. I think that was the last time I was in Canada. Actually, maybe. Wait,
Oh, wow.
maybe not. I don't know. Who was our trip? It was Paige and I were
Yeah,
the leaders.
Paige
Yeah.
and yourself, you were the trip leaders. And it was a 10-day trip all across Costa Rica. More on the,
Costa Rica,
it
Pacific
was
side, right?
Pacific side. Yeah.
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 And we finished in Tamarindo, right?
Yes, that's
Yeah.
where we finished, the surf town, Tamarindo. Yeah, and we started off in San Juan, and we went to Monteverde, Santa Teresa, Montezuma, and Tamarindo.
Yeah, that's it. That was the last trip of the season because we did it in
Okay.
reverse. Normally we start in Tamarindo and we go down. Yeah.
How are things in Colombia? When did you make it over there?
So, well, like it's a weird timeline. I started coming to Colombia, I guess, 3 years ago. It'll be 3 years in October. I put together a free and easy trip for Colombia, and then just started back with the regular season. But this year, so I came down just after New Year's. I did one trip in January, and then I've been here since. Basically trapped in Guatape for quarantine.
It's the perfect place to be trapped. Or maybe you'll
Yeah,
have
so
more to say about it.
I mean
With your...
it is interesting. I'm more of a beach kind of guy, you know.
Yes.
There's definitely no beaches here. It's when I first got here I was freezing cold the whole time, but now I've
Mhm.
kind of climatized to the weather. I mean, it never really gets to like zero, but it never really gets to like well, maybe it gets to 27-ish. I don't know what that is in American temperature. 0 being freezing, whatever one that is. But it's been cool. Like, it's weird because it's the first time in, I'd say, about 6 years that I've stayed in the same place for longer than like a month or longer than 2 months. So
Wow.
I went from always moving around to not even being able to leave my apartment for quite some time. So it's been
How does that
been an
feel?
interesting
Are you enjoying it, or are you getting stir crazy because you're used to hopping around a lot? Yeah.
I feel like I went through every emotion and every feeling while I was trapped in quarantine. Now I don't know, like I have some good habits and some new bad habits where I kind of have this where I can do it tomorrow because there's nothing going on because I'm here rather than like, I better get this done right now, you know?
Right.
But I bought a ticket. Finally, the country opened up starting last week, and there's no more like inner country travel bans. For up until last week, we weren't even allowed to leave like our town without special permission, which was crazy.
Yeah. So where are you headed to?
I'm heading to the coast, to Palomino, which is I don't know if you know Colombia at all, but it is kind of on the northern Caribbean side, above Tayrona National Park, below Rio Hacho, which is kind of like the desert area, which is kind of cool. Colombia has 2 deserts.
Oh, they have 2 deserts? I had no idea. Yeah. What?
Crazy, right? They have 2 deserts. They have glaciers, actually.
Oh, wow.
2 coasts. Yeah, Amazon runs through it as well. It's pretty intense, spectacular, massive, awesome country. Definitely my favorite. Decided to live here instead of Costa Rica, where I used to live, where I got my start and everything.
How did you get started in the tourism industry, and why Costa Rica? Was that the first place you ended up? Like, how did you end up there?
How did you get the first place.
Yeah.
I went to, after high school, I went to school for like recreation and leisure, for like tourism. And I did it in Peterborough, Ontario, believe it or not. And the way that the course was set up is that at your last semester, rather than doing like placements wherever, your last semester, you can decide wherever you want to go as long as it relates to, you know, tourism, recreation, leisure. So it kind of gave you the opportunity to go anywhere in the world as long as you could relate to, you know, our course. So I was like, there's no way I'm staying in Canada. Like, this is my ticket out of here. So I literally applied to like anywhere and everywhere I possibly could. Like California, New Zealand, Australia, Hawaii, and then Costa Rica was on the list. And I went to Costa Rica actually when I was in like high school, like as like a you could go for 2 weeks over like Easter break and get like a Spanish credit and like a geography credit. Failed both credits, obviously. I just wanted to go for the trip. But so I remembered some of the places that we went to, and after probably 200-300 emails I sent out to different places, one spot in Costa Rica replied back, and we were like, yeah, we'd love to have you. Yeah, that would be great. So I mean, that was how I got there. Well, that's how I got ready to get there. I'll tell you, if you think you know how to speak Spanish and then you go to a country that only speaks Spanish, you don't know how to speak Spanish. Yeah. So I got there. I was 20 years old at the time, and got off the airplane. Yeah, baby Josh. I got there at the time. I was like, oh, this should be easy enough. I'll just jump on a bus and get there. Like 4 or 5 hours on a bus. I get into a town. It's dark. I have no idea where I am. Luckily, Costa Rica, like, people are nice. And I was like, yeah. Some guy's like, where are you going? And I was like, I don't know. This is the phone number I'm supposed to call. And the guy called it. I called the phone number. He's like, I know where that is. It's another 2 hours away. Do you want a taxi ride there? And I was like, yeah, I have no idea what I'm doing. And jumped in this car blindly with this guy and got there. Thank God. So Made
Man.
it to, it's called La Cusinga Eco Lodge. It's a really cool spot. It was, I'd say it was about 7 kilometers away from the nearest thing that you could possibly call a town,
Mm-hmm.
which was like a grocery store, a bank machine, a clinic, and an internet cafe. Yeah, internet cafe. That's how long ago that
Yeah.
was.
When those still
And then,
exist.
yeah, and then it was still another like 2-3 kilometers into the jungle to get to this
Mm-hmm.
middle of nowhere place. And yeah, so I worked there. My very first kind of role there was cleaning the paths. I was chopping sugarcane in the
Oh,
like their
wow.
like fields.
Okay.
Eventually I started like, I was like checking people in and then taking people on hikes and everything. I used to, because they would have like local guides come in to do these hikes. So I would just
Yeah.
follow them around with my little notebook and write down all
Okay.
these cool facts about animals and plants and everything. And then so
Right.
eventually I learned how to like kind of be a tour guide. Like that way it was like
Very cool.
adventure rainforest guide and take people to the beach, take them surfing, learn how to surf,
Yeah.
start teaching people how to surf. It was kind of a lot of like do it yourself learning.
In which city were you living nearby?
The closest town now is called Uvita,
Okay.
Uvita, which is like in Spanish is little grape.
Little Grape.
Yeah, I lived in the town of Little Grape, South Pacific side of Costa Rica, which is cool. I'll send you the
Mm-hmm.
info if you want.
Yeah, sounds good.
It's pretty exciting. We're actually now, fast forward to right now, because of our travel bans with Free and Easy, we're actually making a new Costa Rica trip. And we're going to go to this small little town where I got my start.
Oh, to Uvita.
Back 15 years-ish ago. I don't know. I'm 30. I turned 35 now. So, however, that is
You still
when I was
have
20.
some of your connections there? You
I
revisit
do,
them?
yeah. I'm keeping in touch every now and then.
Good.
So that's pretty exciting. But yeah,
That's
so I
exciting.
would do that. I would go to Costa Rica for like, I'd work there for like 6 months or so.
Mm-hmm.
Then I'd go back to Canada. And then
Okay.
I'd go back there for 6 months, and then back to Canada, and then back there, and then I was back in Canada for a while. But yeah.
So how was that going back and forth? Was that fine for you, or was it something like, oh, this is temporary, I need to settle down in Costa Rica eventually? Or
well, every time I would go, I was like, you know what? I'd go back to Canada, and I'd be like, oh, I'm missing something. This isn't right. Like, I need to go back there. This is what I should do. And then I was like, oh, maybe I stay longer. Maybe I could actually stay longer. And then I was like, woo. I ended up staying, 6 months, 6 months, 6 months. And then I was back in Canada. I had some like family stuff going on and whatnot. But then I just remember I'm in Canada. I'm working. I went to like night shift working at a bar. And I walked outside and like it was so cold. Like the like moisture in my nose like froze. And I was like, I'm done. I am out. I got friends there. I kind of know how to speak Spanish. I'm going to save up. I'm going to move to Costa Rica. That's it. I'm done. And I did that about 9 years ago. And I haven't called Canada my home since, actually, which is kind of cool.
So what were some culture shock incidents that you had when you were first spending time in Costa Rica and first working as a tour guide? Or maybe it's just some like learning experiences you had in that job, doing it for the first time in a foreign country.
I'd say definitely the biggest thing. I mean, I went from living in a city in Canada to literally the tropical rainforest. Like, so just, I mean, right off the bat, noises, sounds, animals, things that can literally just kill you. You're like, oh my God, it's kind of intimidating, just accommodations, like where I was living, there's no glass windows. Everything is open air, mosquito nets, and, no internet, no friggin' nothing. You're living out in the bushes. So it's kind of like that was a big shock, and besides that, like I like just the language, like I remember a lot of nights just sitting around, like everyone's listening to the soccer game on a radio in like a treehouse, and I'm just pretending to try to understand anything that's going on because I couldn't speak Spanish really at all.
Yeah.
So that was like pretty tough. You find it kind of lonely sometimes, you're like trying to communicate. This is before like a smartphone where I could just Google translate anything on like a whim, So I think another big thing too is because I was like living in Canada, like Toronto area, it's so easy to like get wrapped up in just like watching TV or playing video games or whatever. With there's none of that. So it was like I was like drawing, I was like doing more outdoorsy kind of just back to the basics kind of stuff.
Yeah, it's kind of like what some people might be experiencing right now in quarantine.
So
do you even feel like you got to maybe or maybe not connect more with like spirituality since you had that time, to focus on these other things rather than the distractions of the modern world?
Yeah, definitely a lot of like inner soul searching, I guess you would say. I mean, I probably didn't think that was the word for it when I was sitting there in the jungle, but you really discover a lot about yourself, like learning to live with yourself, like your own thoughts and how you do yourself. It's kind of big. You can become your own friend,
Yeah, for sure.
I think a lot of people sometimes have trouble doing. Definitely connecting with nature, especially out in the middle of nowhere, you know? So that was like, I think I was very fortunate. A lot of people do go to Costa Rica or take these long trips away and have these great experiences. I always feel like mine was a little more authentic or a little more deeper into like the raw nature and the raw feeling of things because of how remote and open everything was. I had a machete.
Oh my gosh. Wow.
Had to earn it according to the guys I worked with. But,
that was from chopping the sugar cane?
Chopping the sugar cane, killing dangerous animals.
Oh yeah, or, in the rainforest.
Yeah. So, I mean, I didn't try to go out and kill anything, obviously. But, it was there in case.
So another thing I was wondering about, since you're talking about, going from that environment in Toronto to your lifestyle in Uvita, could you talk more about people's mindset in that area of Costa Rica and like how they live their lives, their life philosophy? You could go into Pura Vida too, and those
Pura
things.
Vida to the complete opposite, which is Toronto. I mean, it's exactly pretty much that, the complete opposite. I find people, and I still see it, it still holds true in like a lot of Latin American countries that I go to, is just the value of spending time with your family and just personal interactions rather than electronics and phones and stuff. Just a simpler way of life. Not saying that it's like not as wealthy or anything like that, but people would rather go down to the beach and just hang out or like go for a walk with each other. You'll find a lot of times like around sunset, everyone's walking around out in like a park or hanging out with each other rather than all in their houses just watching TV, not talking to each other. It's I don't know, it's a more natural or a more holistic way of life, I would say. It's definitely something that made me like resent going back to Canada and like not wanting to like live there anymore, I guess.
When you were in Costa Rica, like, is that when you got to explore the rest of Central America and travel more through South America?
Well, when I actually, so in Costa Rica, you can stay for 3 months before your tourist visa expires.
Okay.
And there's a bit of a loophole in Costa Rica where you can go to Panama or Nicaragua for a couple of days and then back into Costa Rica, and then your visa kind of resets itself. So I would go down to Panama. The first time I was like going down into Panama for like a weekend or a couple of days, and then back into Costa Rica. And that was my first real kind of like traveling around kind of experiences. And it was pretty wild back then.
Yeah.
I remember like it was kind of funny. The second time I went back down to Costa Rica to work at the Eco Lodge, there was another guy from Canada there, and he's like, yeah, I'm doing an internship here. Apparently some dude like a couple of years ago did his internship here. So I saw it in a book and I applied and was like, yeah, I'm that guy.
Oh,
What's
okay.
up? So that was kind of like a cool shock. It was like I kind of like paved the way. And then, so we went down to Panama to do our visa runs and ended up hitchhiking from the Pacific side of Panama to the Caribbean side of Panama with some fairly sketchy, derelict Americans, which I don't even know if they're alive still, or they're definitely not allowed back in the country, but they
Oh,
were
wow.
definitely sketchy, scary dudes. And we got over to the Caribbean side, which is honestly, the Caribbean side is a whole other walk of life when it comes
Hmm.
to Costa Rica or Panama, which was really exciting. We went to Bocas del Toro, which
Uh-huh.
is, it's kind of like a chain of islands on the Caribbean side, really close to the Costa Rican border. And that's kind of when I fell in love with the Caribbean side. So long
What is
story short, when I finally moved back down to Costa Rica permanently, I moved to the Caribbean side because I loved it so much. Yeah.
what was the name of that town that you settled in on the Caribbean side?
Puerto Viejo de
Puerto
Talamanca.
Viejo.
There's
What are
two.
these differences, like you're saying, between the Caribbean side and the Pacific side in Costa Rica and Panama?
Panama, everything's a lot cheaper for starters. The Caribbean side also a lot cheaper than the Pacific side. It's a lot less developed as well. Or
Okay.
when I first came down there, it was a little more of like the Wild West, if you will. I won't get into like the history of Costa Rica or anything. It's not really my spot to talk about it, but there's a little bit of the black sheep of the country, if you will. So
Okay.
not too many people visited over there, but because of that and its isolation is very strong, kind of more Caribbean cultures, vibes, food, everything, rather than the Pacific, which is very Central American, Latin America. And it still has that crystal clear blue water like you see in the Caribbean. And
Yeah,
so
I love that.
super awesome. Oh, it's amazing. I miss it every time, every minute that I'm not there. I'm like, oh,
Yeah,
can't
for
wait to get
sure.
over there. And yeah, like it's crazy. A lot of my friends, like their grandparents, their first language isn't actually Spanish. It's like Creole or Patois
Oh,
because of
interesting.
the
Yeah.
segregation and the separation from the coasts. Over on the Caribbean side, there's a lot of like banana plantations and just different. I don't know, you know.
Yeah.
For example, like a really Costa Rican meal is gallo pinto or like rice and beans. But on
Hmm.
the Caribbean side, it's all like coconut rice and beans. You know,
Okay.
it's got
Yeah.
some more Caribbean flair to it and
Right, right. That
everything.
makes sense.
So no, I fell in love with the Caribbean. I was like, if I can find a job and a place to stay, I'm gonna stay here. Fuck it, you know. And so that's what I did. My first job on the Caribbean side, I was working at a bar called the Lazy Man, which unfortunately doesn't exist anymore. But from there, you know, a series of different like working at one bar here, working to another bar
Hmm.
there, doing some kind of like side tours of to people, places I know, you know, kind of that like hustly kind of backpacker
Right.
town. You just kind of do what you can. And then I landed a job at a bar called Tasty Waves Cantina, where I met my best friend. Yeah, so worked at Tasty Waves for quite some time, became the manager, and then I was actually gifted a percentage of the bar. So I am part owner, small little part, but holds close to my heart
Yeah.
for sure.
And it's still there. It's still running. Tasty Waves.
Yeah, we're actually, our 10-year anniversary is coming up, and
Okay.
because of quarantine, we extended it until February to make sure I can come
Okay,
because
cool.
part of it, you know. And yeah, so I mean, I was working at Tasty Waves. It's a cool bar on the Caribbean, right in front of the beach. Tacos, beers, parties, good
Yeah.
times, you know. And from there, you know, I was like, kind of, I guess I wouldn't say stir crazy, but needed a change, you know.
Hmm.
And I was like, okay, you know what? Maybe I'm gonna go back to Canada and save up and open up my own thing. I don't know what I'm gonna do. But then Free and Easy Traveler came around, and that's
Just in time.
just in time, and that's
Yeah.
how I started working for them. I had a few other tourism jobs. I used to work for a Canadian company called Breakaway Tours. So when I was back in Canada, not in Costa Rica, I was working for this Canadian tour company, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
They would take people from like high school and we'd go to like Quebec City or Montreal or Tremblant for like spring break or New Year's or something. Because in Canada, right, Quebec has a year younger drinking age than Ontario. So everyone that's about to graduate can go over to Quebec and drink legally at the bars and party and all that kind of stuff. So that was a shit show. We'd go down to Daytona Beach as well, which was pretty cool.
Oh, in
I think
Florida?
you have something similar. Yeah.
Oh,
you have something similar. It's called Student City.
Student City. I have not heard of that. I'm sure something similar exists. Yeah.
They're basically like, we were doing like spring break party tours for college students in Daytona Beach and Panama City Beach. And that, man, I tell you, American spring break is like a thing, you know, like it's exactly what you see in like TVs and like movies and stuff. You're like, Spain, you guys are crazy.
Like to have fun.
Yeah. Have you ever gone to like Daytona Beach for spring break or anything?
I haven't gone there. Actually, the last time I was in Florida when I was probably 3 years old at Disney World.
Oh yeah, nice.
Very anti spring break, but yeah, someday I'll make it out
funny.
there.
Every year I did spring break. I think I only did it twice, but it's close enough to Disneyland that they're always like, well, whoever wants to go to Disneyland for the day, we'll take you. And they needed to have like a guide. And somehow I always ended up getting stuck taking like people to Disneyland.
Oh, so you got to know it very well then.
Yeah, I've been to Disneyland 3 times. It's not great. Not when you're 25.
Yeah, not when you're older.
Party.
Probably would have been great when you were a little kid.
Yeah, right.
The last thing I remember from going there was the Little Mermaid show. And they had the huge bubbles coming out into the audience, which I was completely amazed by back then.
Yeah, back then. For sure.
So it's a memory that's stuck in my head.
My parents tortured me for my 15th birthday and took us to Disneyland. Like made me take pictures.
Oh,
with,
so
like,
you had gone before?
Princesses.
Okay, before. You were...
Yeah, that's how I got the gig going with all the college students. Like.
Yeah. So it's funny that you mentioned Florida because when I flew into Costa Rica for the 2017 trip, I flew in through Fort Lauderdale, Florida. Mm-hmm. That was my layover. So they have a bunch of like connecting flights from there to Haiti and a lot of the Caribbean countries. And,
Panama, Colombia especially.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a pretty big hub.
Yeah,
for sure.
It's cool. And it was interesting just sitting at the airport there because I could hear all the languages, from these countries.
All over the place, yeah.
All over the place, yeah.
I haven't been to an airport in ages. Usually I'm in an airport at least once a month, you know?
Right.
So it's kind of been different, yeah.
How do you stay motivated in this line of work when you're just, you're on the road, like, going around constantly, and you said you get those feelings of loneliness sometimes, and I mean I'm sure by now you've built up a network, but still do you get those pangs?
At the beginning when I started the free and easy job, it was amazing. Like and a lot of tour guides, they only work for maybe 1 or 2 years, and then it's kind of like time to settle down or start your regular life or whatever, because like a tour guide job doesn't necessarily pay very well. It's mostly all about the perks, pretty much everything's for free. You're meeting new people all the time. Super fun. And because Free and Easy is a super sociable, really fun company, and most of them are from Canada, like a lot of our guides are from Canada, and when you're done being a tour guide, you have all these friends in Canada to hang out with. But I went from being a tour guide to being the manager as well. So I was able to make a little bit more money to kind of sustain myself down here. And it's still awesome to meet tons of people. It's but you meet so many people that it almost isolates yourself after a while. You're part of the attraction. You're part of the the gig almost, you know. You meet all these people. Some people are unforgettable. They're super awesome, and then they leave, and there's a lot of people I've never seen again. You know what I mean? So, I mean, it went from being super awesome, super sociable to, you know, in the last couple of years, really just being like, wow, kind of lonely. Like your best friend's your co-leader. Or now, because I go back to the same places over and over again, a lot of my friends live in all these different towns. So like my core group of friends are scattered from Nicaragua all the way down to Colombia, you know? It's definitely a different lifestyle, I have to say, you know. I haven't had a home, you know, for 6 years. I have storage in 4 different countries.
Oh my gosh.
You know, 5 or 6 if you include Canada and the United States. And so it's like little pieces of me everywhere.
Are you planning to continue on with this line of work, or do you have different plans in the future?
I do, actually. Here in Colombia, during quarantine, I've been able to get my business together, legalized. So I have a bank account and an official business here in Colombia, Fink Inc. And I have some friends, and we're planning to actually open kind of a small kind of like boutique hostel restaurant on the coast here in Palomino, where I'm flying to in, you know, 15 days or so. But I don't plan to quit working for Free and Easy, just maybe not as much as I used to, you know. I mean, there's times when you're a tour guide, like I think the longest stretch I ever did was 120 or 140 days in a row without a break.
Wow.
So you're the longest time I stayed anywhere was 4 days, you know, and you're just on a bus to the next place. Every 10 days is a new group of people, and and you just, after like a month, you're just kind of set in a motion. You can do it, you know. You surprised what you can put yourself through. But now it would be, if I was to do again, like I'm just going to manage, which is all done through computers, so I can do that anywhere. And maybe just do like, you know, a couple tours a year, or just do the tours in Colombia. Just something to change it up so I can have a life for myself. I remember before the quarantine, like I was the most excited for having like coat hangers and like a spice rack.
Oh my gosh, the most simple things.
Is everything in a backpack, you know?
Yeah. Something I've noticed, sometimes you'll post pictures of your cooking.
Yeah.
Have you like built that up on the road, traveling around, or was it something you were always into before you?
Always. Yeah. Well, I've always been cooking. Like, so I wasn't working in Costa Rica. I was working in restaurants, either as a cook or a dishwasher, or you know, a bartender or a bar back or whatever. So being in restaurants and cooking has always been like part of my life, and it works really well together because it's like all kind of in that hospitality industry, hotels, tours, restaurants, and everything. So yeah, I've just kind of really been putting it together. I like to cook for my groups when I'm on tour as well, and I do actually have this cookbook that I have. It's kind of all chicken scratch, but it's, you know, certain recipes I pick up from like different places or like locals. They're like showing me how to make, you know, the best rice and beans in Colombia or in Costa Rica, or something special from Panama or whatever. Oaxaca, oh my God, what an amazing place that is. I made a free and easy trip to there, and we might run it once business gets busy again. That's another amazing part of the world that's like kind of undiscovered, you know, because everyone thinks of Mexico and they think like Cancun or Baja, but Oaxaca is the gastronomic capital of Mexico. And in my opinion, Mexico is like the gastronomic capital of Latin America, you know? So it's incredible food. It's really cool. Something I've been doing while in quarantine is actually making a cookbook about it. So it'd be kind of cool to see.
Yeah. What's one of your favorite dishes?
Applied to my restaurant.
One of your favorite dishes to whip up, or like one that you've learned down the road.
I learned how to make a really good pad thai from ramen noodles and random things that you can buy in a bodega. It's not necessarily pad thai, but it's tastes like it and it kind of looks like it. So that one's pretty good. I can make some pretty mean rice and beans, I'll tell you. For a gringo, I can hold my own, you know. And
So they use Gringo also in Costa Rica and Panama, just like in Mexico.
Costa Rica, Panama, yeah. I'd
Okay.
say it kind of ends in Colombia. They don't really use the word gringo.
What do they use?
They'll call you like a mono, but that's just
Mono?
basically a white person. Yeah,
Okay.
like a monkey.
Yeah, that's funny.
Or they just say extranjero, but
Mm-hmm.
not too often using the word gringo. I found that gringo has like 3 meanings to it though.
Okay, what are those meanings?
You know, so we'll start like gringo is just some people call it like anybody that's North American is a gringo, whatever, good, bad, and the ugly. Some people say, no, just if you're American, you're a gringo. Be like, hey, gringo. I'm like, I'm Canadian. They're like, oh, so sorry, you're not gringo. But like, I can gringo, whatever. And then I find like a more, my definition of gringo, I guess you would say, is just like an ignorant North American. You know,
Yeah.
like they're coming down, not really care. Like, we speak American here, you know? Like, what are you doing with all this Mexican speak? Or just like really rude, just an uneducated North American would be like a gringo. Those are my
3 levels.
Those are my 3 levels.
So tell me more about the Canadian expat community in Costa Rica. And I don't know if it's also prominent throughout the other Central American communities, but it seems like there's a big community, right? In that
there
country.
Is, you know,
yeah. How did they like start going there and setting up their businesses and stuff?
I would say rather than just an expat community in said country, it's almost like each town has its own kind of community of expats. I'd say Costa Rica, the most out of American country, especially because, I mean, Costa Rica started tourism back in like, you know, the 50s and 60s. It was really safe to travel there. It was one of the first countries. So more North Americans were coming to Costa Rica before anywhere else, you know. And so I have a lot of friends actually, like, or people that I know that they're, I don't know if it's second or third generation, where like their grandparents were expats and like their parents are Costa Rican, you know.
Okay.
And so in Costa Rica, it's incredible. Like most everyone's some form of expat almost. Like, well, that's not true. There's a lot of obvious locals, but in Puerto Viejo, what stands out that I like the most is the expat community isn't just necessarily American Canadian. There's a lot of people like Israeli, Italian, French, European. Like it's very vast, you know. And Nicaragua too. There's a place in Nicaragua, San Juan del Sur, which is for some reason a lot more Canadians than Americans. Where like you go to Tamarindo, where it's a lot more Americans than Canadians, but there's always a pretty big mix in each expat community, which is pretty exciting. Colombia right now is kind of growing. I would say it's pretty recent, right? Because of the kind of dark past they had in the 80s and 90s. People are just starting to come here. My one business partner here, actually, he moved to Colombia 10 years ago and to this town. And you show me places where like he'd go for a beer and there'd be like a military base like set up with a big machine gun because it was still like pretty dangerous. There's actually, I don't know if you can see some of these mountains here.
Yeah, it's gorgeous.
It's the kind of the fault line between the different factions, and some of those places are still not cleared for landmines, which is a crazy thing to think about.
Yeah. So what made you decide to venture over to Colombia? Was it like the growing tourism that's been opening up here in the country? Or was it something
a little bit that, you know what I hear is actually really crazy, and I didn't realize it until I was actually here. My mom showed me a picture that I drew when I was a kid of me like in the rainforest, and she's like, "This is a picture you drew when you were like 7 in the rainforest."
Wow.
He's like, you wanted to be in Colombia the whole time. I'm like, wow, that's crazy. But yeah, no, it was like, for me, Colombia is like so exotic and sounding and so cool. And when I was in Costa Rica, like, you know, I got there, I got a job, I was comfortable, and I never thought I'd be able to go to Colombia, because of all the stigmas and, you know, so-called danger. And then also because I didn't think my Spanish was good enough. But finally the urge hit, and I was like, I have to go, you know, like. And I remember I was talking to Kurt from like Free and Easy, me, my friend Karina, and we're all like, we got to go. We're going to go to Colombia. We're going to make the trip. We're going to do it. He's like, that's a great idea. You should. Let's go. And then, so 3 years ago, I came down, which was cool. Which was honestly like one of the funnest adventures ever, because we started in Panama City, and planning to take a boat through the Caribbean to get into Colombia. And for anybody listening, I guess, probably the coolest adventure that you could ever do without having very much Spanish or travel experience is you can get on one of these boat charters. They're usually sailboats or catamarans that hold anywhere between 15 to 20 people. You start in Panama and you sail through this chain of islands called the San Blas Islands. And it takes about a week, and you sail through all these like beautiful islands, and then you get into Cartagena, into Colombia, and
that sounds really
everything
fun.
is out of like a computer's backdrop screen, you know, like those palm trees over the blue Caribbean Ocean, small tiny islands. Awesome. There's an awesome indigenous culture community there called the Kuntayala, which live on the islands there. And then you get into Cartagena, and for me, it's still probably the sexiest city in the world, man. It's Cartagena. Like, you'll never meet anybody that hasn't been there that's gone, that's probably one of my top 3 favorite places in the world.
Yeah.
Besides Medellin, right? And then they go to Medellin, and then you're like, Medellin. Colombia is amazing.
So what gives it that vibe then exactly in Cartagena?
You know, Cartagena is this mix. It's got this like deep, old kind of piratey Caribbean Latin culture. Like the inner city has this giant wall all the way around it, with these old like colonial buildings and everything. So the whole town is super old, but inside all of these buildings, they're all remodeled to be like really nice hotels or modern restaurants and shops and stuff. So it's glamorous. I don't know. Like these old washed, like coral made giant brick buildings with these big colonial archways. And then, but it's also modern. It's like full of people. And then there's a lot of islands around it. It is the Caribbean, so it's got that cool Caribbean vibe to it as well. And then there's a part of it that kind of shoots out called Boca Grande, which it looks like Miami. You got this like mini Miami right next to this old colonial rustic city. And like, it doesn't make sense, but you're there like just having a drink on like a rooftop somewhere, and there's a pool, and everything's beautiful, and like old walls, and you're like, where am I? That's amazing. It is honestly beautiful. And then Medellin, like I'm an hour away from Medellin, so it's this kind of mountainy, always the city of eternal spring is what they call it, because it's always perfect spring weather, you know. And it's like a really modern city, and it is a city that Pablo Escobar lived in. It's his reign, the terrible times, a lot of death, tragedy, and terribleness. But the city's rebuilt itself, and it's gone from, you know, this terrible, most dangerous place in the world to actually winning awards for being the most innovative city in the world.
That's great.
So it's got this really strong, just happy presence to it that you just can't help but feel. You're like, wow, I'm here. Like, it's incredible. And I don't know, the people in Colombia just love life. Everyone's friendly. Everyone's just really exciting. And everyone's babes. Everyone's a 10. I don't understand. Started going to the gym just to fit in.
So it's a culture where appearances matter, I'm guessing.
Yeah, I'd say beauty is a really big part of the culture here. Also, a lot of Colombians are very energetic and athletic, and like there's a lot of people working out, going to gyms, exercising. It's pretty happening place. I immediately fell in love with it. So did everybody that I came here to visit. Anyone that's been on my trips have been just like, not what you expect, you know? It really blows your doors off.
And just the natural beauty, right? That I've heard, like there's, like you were just describing, there's deserts, glaciers, rainforests, all of this all in one country. So that must be amazing to experience.
Oh, it blows my mind. Like on one of our trips, we go take tubes down this river and we kind of like raft down this, or not like float down this river until we get to the ocean. But we still got to hike there. So you're hiking through the rainforest, and then off in the distance you see these like snow-capped mountains. You're like, I'm sweating, but there's snow and glaciers over there. Like, and it's only it's not too far away. It's a crazy phenomenon. I don't know. They have like 27 different types of monkeys here, you know?
Oh my gosh. That's adorable.
Yeah, it's a really big country. It's bigger than you'd imagine, you know? And
so
different.
I'm curious, like, how do the people feel about foreigners who are coming in and taking a hold of the tourism industry? Or is most of it still managed or controlled by the locals, or is it split, or is it very cooperative?
You know, that I've kind of dealt with a bit of that subject here in this town that I'm in right now.
I figured it probably comes up.
Yeah, you know, and it almost kind of comes back to my definitions of gringo, really, because in a lot of towns that I've worked in, like S1.E2 or Puerto Viejo, there are a lot of expats with businesses, and they're usually businesses that are a little more successful. You know, maybe because people are from Canada, they're from the States, they kind of understand it, or they kind of get it a little bit more. So sometimes it does cause some resentment in the community, but I think if you are in a position where you do have a successful business and you are in a small town, the businesses that work with the community and work with the people they're accepted, and it's not they don't even become, they're gringo business. It's just kind of like they're part of us, we're part of them, and we're together, rather than certain businesses where it's like, I'm here, I don't really assimilate with the rest of the town, I don't get to know anybody, if you're local, you're stupid, like, I'm just here to make money. Then it's kind of like, fucking gringo, you know, like, you're not welcome, you know. I mean, that's my best take I could say on it. For me, I would say it's kind of the same anywhere. I've done a lot of reflecting on it too. If you think, like, at least in Canada, a lot of the really delicious Italian restaurants, the owners are Italian. I don't know too many Asian food restaurants where the owners aren't actually, you know, Asian. So just kind of looking at it on an opposite spectrum, where it's like, when I come across somebody from one of these countries that is like, you fucking gringo, get the fuck out. And it's like, well, you know, if you actually knew me, you wouldn't be saying that, you know, because I bring people to your country and support local tourism. With my businesses, we work with locals, we do community projects. Like my friend Brighton, for example, every Christmas he dresses up as Santa Claus, fundraises for toys, and has all the local kids go see Santa, you know, and gives them presents, you know. And it's something you know, people don't do that, but because we have a successful business in Costa Rica, he's able to do that. And for that, the business isn't looked upon as like a foreign gringo, whatever. At least for the community. When it comes to the legal aspects of everything, it's hard to run a business legally, because the government's always looking at you for the absolute, like with a magnifying glass, basically. If you're not up to 100% standards, you're the first person to get closed down. Even if you are, they're always looking for a reason to shut you down. And so running and operating a business in a foreign country, like I found you have to be by the books, you have to be squeaky clean pretty much. And otherwise they'll find a reason to shut you down, you know? Because there's still that kind of like stigma. There's still that like, these fucking gringos, like they have all the money, they can do whatever they want, like let's go after them kind of attitude. But the reward is pretty high, so a lot better life living down here, I find, than back in Canada. There's some things like, but I think living down here for so long, the things that I used to miss, or like things I used to miss back in Canada just slowly faded away. Or like, one thing you guys have in Canada and the United States that I found a long time is just the ease. It is so easy to get anything you need whenever you want it. Not a problem, you know? There's sometimes when if I want to find like a cheese, like I got to go to 3 different stores, you know?
Oh, yeah.
Like in this town, you know how hard it is to find like hot peppers? Doesn't exist.
Really? No. Oh, wow.
There's like once in a while you can find some like jalapenos or something. But there's a cheddar cheese. You know, cheddar cheese. No.
Can't find it. Okay.
Yeah, super hard, you know. Gotta get it in Medellin. I remember a whole town was out of hamburger buns for like 2 weeks once. It's like the great hamburger depression of 2019. It was terrible. You know?
The little things that count.
Yeah. When I was first in Puerto Viejo, I couldn't find ping pong balls anywhere. You know, I had to get friends to bring me down ping pong balls. You know? You guys want to play beer pong? Yeah, we got rocks and corks. Like,
oh my god!
Figure it out. So I mean, it keeps you creative, you know.
So describe Guatape. Like, what's that like?
Guatape, okay, yeah. It is a small little mountain town. It's I know the places in Canada, like it would be like the Muskokas, or I think out west there's a place called like the Shuswap. It's like cottage country basically. We're an hour and a half or so away from Medellin, which is like, you know, big metropolis, big city, kind of the equivalent of like Toronto. And they had a hydroelectric project which kind of flooded the area. So I don't know if you can see, but there are kind of lakes everywhere. So it's a really popular kind of tourist destination for locals as well as, you know, extranjeros. How do you say extranjero? Like foreign tourism. And it's cool. It's small, so it's cottage country, you know. There's no real commercial buildings or restaurants here. Everything's locally owned. They have the giant rock, which is a big tourist attraction.
Oh, that's cool.
Second largest monolithic rock in Latin America, at least. 760 something steps to get to the top, if you're wondering.
Have you done it?
A few times, yeah. Yeah, I get to the top. I can get to the top in like 20 minutes.
Okay.
Not that bad. But one unique thing about Guatape is they have these things called zokolos, which are like basically all the houses are painted, and they all have little like I can't think of the name of it. They're like little squares with little pictures, and the pictures are painted, and they run along the whole sides of their buildings. So like if you were a fisherman, you would have like fish zokolos along the side of your house.
Oh, I see. Or, to indicate your trade or your job, right?
Yeah, or just something you like, you know.
Okay.
It became popular by an artist that lives here, and it caught on. So it is considered like the most colorful town in Colombia, which is kind of cute. But definitely very local. Not a large expat community here, but there is one, you know. But no, it's cool. It's always spring here. It's going to rain in probably about 2 hours, and then it'll stop 3 hours later. It's great. There's a lot to do here. Waterfalls, hiking, kayaking, and yeah, it's beautiful. You know, it's not the beach. So for me, I'm like, I want to go, but a lot of people love it here. It's like definitely top 10 destinations of Colombia.
What's the cuisine like? Or are people
Um,
going out of town and buying all their groceries or something?
well, everything's local.
Okay.
It's very local where like, not like you can go in the States or Canada where you can go to like a mega super giant grocery store that
Yeah.
has absolutely everything. Like
Everything.
you
Yeah.
literally like, when I go grocery shopping, I go to the butcher. I go to like the supermercado that has like, I know cleaning products or like rice and beans and like dry food and stuff like that. I go to the like a vegetable store. It's like a not farmer's market or like, but like produce spot. You go
Yeah.
to the bakery. It's like the butcher, the baker, the freaking candlestick maker here in this
Yeah.
town. Like, so grocery shopping is like a 4 or 5 stop shop. It's not just one place with your grocery cart, which kind of makes things fun,
Yeah, that's
and,
very quaint.
yeah, keeps you going. And so, but at certain places you get certain things. Like I think I'd be hard pressed to find like mushrooms in on the coast. But here
Okay.
they're all over the place,
Okay.
Speaking of mushrooms, this place is like the capital for like magic mushrooms. They just grow
Oh,
wild here.
really? Have you tried
So,
them since you've been there?
yeah. Every
How
now
is
and then I
it?
go mushroom hunting.
Yeah.
They're good. It's natural. Like you're not going too fucking into outer space if you just,
Are you literally just going hunting and you try what you find, or are you purchasing from like a
Yeah.
vendor? Oh, you're literally
Yeah, you
like,
just walk around the cow fields and find the mushrooms that are growing out of the poop that are magic mushrooms. Wash them off and eat them.
what? How do you make
I
sure
mean,
they're not?
I usually gather them together and then like save them for like a specific night, and then we
Okay.
eat them. I'm not just walking around town like, oh, maybe this will
Yeah.
work. I did that once.
Wait, but how do you know it's not like a poisonous one? Do you know like what to look out for when you're?
Yeah, I
Okay.
have a friend that's done it and showed me, and so now I know. And,
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
I haven't
They grow out of
gone.
cow poop, not horse poop.
Okay.
For the record. Yeah.
That's one factor.
Yeah.
Yeah.
One thing to know.
Yeah.
No, it's pretty easy. But it's not like, it's like natural. It's not like, for example, it'd be like growing your own weed instead of like getting some from some like Humboldt County weed farmer where like one hit and you're like in outer space.
Is weed legalized down there? I'm guessing.
Yeah, actually,
It is.
Colombia's pretty liberal on a lot of their things. Costa Rica, too. A lot of times it depends on the police. If they're going to stop you and you're a tourist and you got a bunch of weed on you, they're probably going to be corrupt and try and shake you down and be like, da-da-da. But you can legally have, I think it's something like 20 ounces of weed, like almost, or not 20 grams, like almost an ounce of weed without it being illegal. Don't quote me on that. But there's a limit to each substance that you can have under like the Freedom of Inspiration Act, under like, I can't remember the actual code. I used to know it because of my tours down here. General rule, if you think it's illegal, it probably is. So don't have it because you're a tourist. And even if it is legal, you don't know the laws, or the cops can like, it's going to be their word over yours anyway, I think, for example, like I think it's legal to have 1 gram of cocaine on you.
Yeah, I was going to ask about that too. Yeah.
But if you are a tourist in like the city and the cops search you and they see like 1 gram of cocaine, they'll be like, "You're going to jail," or "You need to find us." They don't have a scale to weigh it, and you're not videotaping it, being like, "See, this is legal." Like they're just gonna be like, "No, this is illegal. Give me money or you go to jail." You know what I mean? So it's better just to be safe
Better
than
be safe than sorry. Yeah.
Yeah. But it's pretty cool.
Cool.
I don't know. I have to say, some of my heavier partying days are behind me. Stick to drinking the beers and the occasional mushroom or two on the patio with my friends around. Yeah.
Who are some interesting people you've met during your time in Colombia or Costa Rica? Some people that stand out to you.
Characters that I've met along the way. I mean, that's not infinite number, but I would say there are some extraordinary, interesting characters in every place that I've been to in any single time that I've been there. I mean, the best place for characters was Puerto Viejo circa 4 or 5 years ago. One of them, her name's Margarita. Awesome old lady. She has a few nicknames. One reason she likes to stand out, I'd always see her when I'd take groups to Puerto Viejo and be like, "Hey, Margarita, how are you?" And she'd look at me, she'd be like, "You call me motherfucker." And I'm like, "Yeah, call me motherfucker." I was like, "All right, motherfucker. How you doing?" She's like, "Good." And I don't know, we just had some crazy stories. We'd go to the bridge every Christmas, hang out. And one night she was there and some guy tried to pick a fight with her. And like, he's trying to throw punches at her. She's throwing punches at him. Sure enough, she grabs the biggest rock she can find and like tries to throw it, like crack him over the head. Just barely misses. He goes to like swing at her and she pulls out like this like cleaver out of her like I don't even know where she was hiding it, but pulls out this giant knife and starts chasing this guy down the street. Oh, she came back like all like angry and excited. And we're like, "Hey, are you okay?" And she's like, "Ah!" Like almost stabbed me. And I was like, "Holy smokes!"
Was she a local or
Margarita? Yeah, very local.
Okay.
But no, she's still around, and she's a character. I don't know. She was hilarious. That's one for Puerto Viejo. I mean, a lot of these characters are my friends. You know? So, my one buddy, his name's Caesar. We actually worked with him when we were in Panama. And the reason we met him was because he picked up my co-leader. We're just walking down the street and he's like, "Hey girl, what the going? You know, hey, what's your name?" He's like, "I'm Caesar, the best Gonzalez. Hey, I'm gonna show you around." He like drew her a map and everything. And I don't know, he's just hilarious, you know. Anything you can do to make you laugh or smile, like he's doing it, and he's just got this like crazy eccentric personality. I miss him, man. Like we hang out. He's like one of my good buds. And that's Panama, Nicaragua. Just anybody in Nicaragua is a character, really. My one friend Barreto, he is, I don't know, like El Rico Suave of Nicaragua. Knows everybody in the country. Is like he's always on a boat or in some VIP party somewhere, or like the head of something. Always surrounded by this entourage of 7 or 8 girls. He's always like, "Yeah, what's up?" Like just surfing, rip, crazy. It's just super funny, dude. And so he has a dog. Or no, his friend, also my friend, has a dog named Jaws, like Jaws, like the shark.
Yeah.
And my name is Josh. In Spanish, they pretty much get pronounced the same way. So people call me Jaws. Sometimes his dog's running around, they're like, "Josh!" And they're like, no, they're talking to the dog, or talking to me, or talking to the dog. I don't know.
Yeah.
But one day the dog got loose in town. So they posted on Facebook on the open forums. They're like, "Hey, has anybody seen this dog anywhere?" And somebody tagged my name. They're like, "Oh yeah, that's Josh. Like he's over here." I was like, people are mistaking me for a dog in San Juan del Sur. So pretty interesting dog. One of the only dogs I know that willingly climbs into a hammock by itself and hangs out.
Oh, that's cute.
So it's a pretty cool dog. And then, I mean, anybody on the Corn Islands is a character.
Which islands?
I think the Corn Islands. They're small. Yeah, they're small 2 islands that are off the Caribbean side of Nicaragua. And there's Big Corn, which has like a few roads, and that, if you can call it an airport. And then you have to take a boat to get to Little Corn Island. And Little Corn Island doesn't have any cars. It doesn't have any roads. Everything's walking. They turn the electricity off every morning, and they don't turn it back on till like 3 or 4 in the afternoon. The island itself is a character. I don't know how to describe it. There's maybe 4 or 5 restaurants, 7 or 8 hotels, or if you want to call it hotel, places to stay, and it's just absolute beauty. Everybody on the island knows everybody. You're walking around, and after 3 days, you know everybody. Just be walking around and like, hey, what's up, man? Like, how's everything going?
Yeah.
Like, and I got a couple of good friends there. My man Ozzy, he's like, I think I'm pretty sure he's the unofficial mayor of the island. He's a man, just rolls around on a bike all day, goes fishing, drinks beers at night, and honestly, just some of the best people to have conversations with if you're just sitting there having a beer, and like, it's just wild. In Colombia here, I don't know, I meet my share fair of people. Colombia's, I'd say, like in Medellin, there's a tour company there. They're called Real City Walking Tours. Done their trips maybe 6 or 7 times, and each one of their guides is just like an extraordinary person, you know, like just so awesome to hear their stories of growing up in Medellin during like that like dark time, and just their light that they have is incredible, man. It's the most interesting people ever.
So how would you like describe like the difference in mindset between the Colombianos and Costa Ricans? It's a pretty similar mindset, like that Pura Vida mindset, or is there a difference?
You know, I'm going to be honest. It's hard for me to really say country to country. Yeah. Especially because, you know, from the Caribbean coast of Costa Rica to the Central Valley to the Pacific coast to the north to the south is different mindsets. Right. Especially in Colombia, like the region I'm in now, Antioquia, they call themselves paisas, which are completely culturally different than anybody living on the coast, you know. But I mean, anybody on the coast is always just a lot more laid back, kind of a little more.
That makes sense anywhere you go, yeah.
Yeah, you know, it's just super. Yeah, you know what? Let's drink some beers. Why not? You know, yeah. Let's go do it. More in the inner cities, more like your, can I say, traditional Latino kind of or Latina? You know, I can't really describe this like the paisa attitude, but it's definitely characteristic of people that live like. If you're from Medellin, like you know it, you know, like. Girls from Medellin usually like their hair's done, like they got some type of surgery. They're like, hola, you know.
What does paisa mean?
It means like countrymen, but they just like paisa is just kind of like a term. Like if you're paisa, you're from this part of the country. Cool. You consider yourself a very good businessman or woman, business person. Pardon me. And I don't know. I love them. It's totally different mindsets. I don't know. I like Colombia a lot. I just think it's a thicker, bigger culture here, a lot more to it, you know. And I mean, I've only really scratched the surface living here in Colombia where I am. There's so many places and like so much to it. I'm excited to live here, to be honest. Every day I'm here, like there's something about this country that just makes me fall in love with it all over again. I always say like, and I love Costa Rica, you know, like, and I almost feel like I'm betraying it by like moving to Colombia. But I don't know, everything that's in Costa Rica, you can find in Colombia, plus more. Definitely have to come to Colombia.
Yeah, I will. When I come, I'll be visiting you for sure.
If you're going to go anywhere, like I would, at least for like a quick travel or like a first time to the country, I'd say go to Medellin, go to Cartagena, and then go up the coast to like Santa Marta. As far as Palomino, if you go further than Palomino, it's really cool. It's really rustic. It's got really good windsurfing. The desert's there. There's a place called Punta Gallina, which is like, it's crazy because it's like these sandy deserts into these like blue Caribbean water. So it's like this weird place that doesn't make sense geographically, you know? And then like 3 hours later, you're back in like rainforest, you know? So it's very, very cool. But then, I mean, and you know what's crazy is like, at least from my experience, is like the Pacific side of Colombia is a lot more like the Caribbean side of Costa Rica or Nicaragua.
Oh, interesting.
The Caribbean side of Colombia is more like the Pacific side of That's where you're at. It's a lot more colonial, obviously, but it's like more
Mm-hmm.
Spanish influence, I guess you would say. Yeah. And you cannot pass through Panama to Colombia on land. It's
Oh,
still
you
like one of the
can.
most dangerous.
Okay.
No, it's called the Darien Gap. It's still like one of the most dangerous places in the world. That's why you have to take a boat or fly.
And that's because of the narcotics
Everything,
trade?
everything bad. There's a frog there, the golden dart frog, that like if you touch it, you die.
Oh, I've heard of that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Poisonous skin.
Yeah, it's super poisonous. I mean, there's poison dart frogs in Costa Rica and stuff. I've picked them up. I haven't died. Feel a
Oh,
little sick, get a little weird. But like
what?
this one's like super
Wait, how do you
poisonous.
feel
Yeah.
exactly? Like nauseous or
Like a little dizzy.
a
Yeah,
little
you feel
dizzy?
like
Okay.
kind of like if you ate something bad. I don't know. You don't feel good. You know, it's like
Okay.
having a bad hangover. But yeah, it goes away. Lightheaded too. Don't recommend it.
I'll
Don't
avoid
go
that.
picking those up. In 15 days, I will be going to the coast to find my new job, business, open up
Your new
a
business,
boutique
yes.
hostel restaurant. It's really cool. So my buddy Brighton from Tasty Waves, he's like, why don't you make it another Tasty Waves? And I was like, why did we think about this the whole time? So it'll be
So then you'll
part
be
two.
based
It'll be
there
really
for a
exciting.
while in Palomino.
In Palomino. That's kind of where I'm hoping to quote unquote settle down.
Settle down. Oh man.
What a word! What a
Look at that
terrible
look of
combination
disgust
of
on
words.
your face.
What a terrible combination of words that is. Now it's kind of like I really want to. After traveling, like you know, like I was saying, like being on the road for 6 years is like. At the end of it, I was like, I'm done. You know,
Yeah,
like
it's
I'm going to
exhausting.
Colombia. I am opening
Yeah.
up my own little place, and I'm fucking set. You know. I'm really excited for this hotel. So, I mean, between all these places, all these different hotels, I've helped open up 3 or 4 different hostels, hotels. I've managed a couple different places. I've helped open and ran and taken care of bars and restaurants all over Latin America. So I definitely know what I'm doing. And just kind of taking those little cool pieces from all over the world that I love and finally being able to put it into my own little spot. And then that with like, the network of everybody I know, it's almost like I feel like I can't fail, you know. I'm really like very excited to get this thing going. I have 2 friends, both that I met because they were both free and easy travelers. So they're one's trapped in Peru right now.
Oh no.
Poor guy. And the other lives in Canada. And so the 3 of us are planning to open up this new venture on the coast.
Do you guys have a name for it?
15 days. I'm thinking calling it Tasty Waves, like Tasty Waves Cantina. But since it's the second one, we're going to call it Tasty Waves 2. But instead of 2 like the number, it's going to be like 2, like as in also.
Oh, yeah.
Funny.
I like that. That's good.
Yeah. But we'll see what develops. We had our first kind of 3-way chat the other night, which was really exciting. And yeah, honestly, I can't wait. When I was talking about like becoming part of the community and stuff, it's in a town that's on the beach, and it's a fairly new town. I mean, my one business partner, he was like, "Oh, I was in Palomino like 10 years ago. There wasn't even a town. There was like 8 families living on the side of the road. Now it's like a town." So they don't have a lot of. I know they don't have a lot of beach protocol, I guess you would say, you know. And a really big thing I want to bring to that community is just like lifeguards on the beach. It's a pretty rough beach. It does have some surfing, but a lot of people die because the rip currents are so bad. And
oh my gosh,
a pretty common thing in Latin America, a lot of Latin Americans don't know how to swim. So you have a lot of people going to the beach with these dangerous waves, not knowing any better, and then nobody's really there to help save them. So my Australian friend, who was a lifeguard at a beach and knows a lot of people there, along with myself, and we just wanted to start, like, on top of having our own business, is kind of like get something, like implements like some swimming lessons programs and beach safety and like a lifeguard program and everything into this town. And
yeah, that's
I think it'd be like really cool to, you know, yes, we're having our own business. Yes, we're run by gringos, but look what we're bringing to the community. We're bringing people together. We're creating jobs. We're helping the youth.
Yeah.
And hopefully that'll be an amazing thing to do.
Very responsible way to approach it.
I just think like, if you are in like a position, like, I mean, it is it's a small Caribbean town in Latin America. There's not a lot of education. There's not a lot of, money coming in or out. And if it is, it's in these privately owned hostels and hotels and everything. So if you have that advantage to be able to bring more to the community, then I think you should, especially as like a foreigner with maybe, I had a better chance at education growing up living in Canada, and everyone needs to come together,
Yeah.
I don't know how to say it properly, but yeah. So that's like, I'm super stoked because the guys that I work with are really on board with that.
Good.
And it's like we all have a similar mind frame of what we want, to bring to the community and for ourselves.
Is it going to be eco-friendly and all of that stuff?
As much as it can be, yeah.
As much as
absolutely, of course. I mean, always. I mean, like I feel like that's
just like a basic thing
without question nowadays. It's like like of course it's going to be eco-friendly. A lot of places in Latin America don't have those systems for recycling and stuff. I found in Colombia they do, which is amazing. We have recycling here.
Okay.
We have compost here. It's pretty awesome.
Nice.
Each town is different, and that's another reason why I'm so excited to get to Palomino. I've been there a lot, but I've only ever been there for 1 or 2 days at a time every couple months. I haven't like really lived there. I haven't been there for longer than a week. So before I go ahead and open this business and everything, it's like living there, seeing what it's like, knowing it's available,
With the visa, are you on a tourist visa or is it something else? How do you get to stay down there so long?
Good question. So right now, because of quarantine, everything's suspended. So I think it just started again. But I have applied for it's kind of, in my mind, a loophole. In Colombia, you can apply for an investor's visa. And an investment visa is between 1 and 3 years, depending on what they give you. So you can invest into a company, a Colombian company. And the amount is $30,000 American, invested into a company to have your year-long visa. It's approximately 100 months of minimum wage or something like that. Anyway, you can open up your own business here for all said and done. I think if you do it by yourself, all said and done, it's going to cost around $800 to $1,000 by the time you get trips back and forth to like Medellin and your official paper for this and opening up your bank account for that and blah, blah, blah. So I have my official business opened and all that, so I have a full legal, complete 100% business owned and operated by moi. And so if you look at it this way, I've split myself into, there's Colombian Josh and then there's Canadian Josh. So I can Canadian Josh can invest into Colombian Josh's business. And then therefore I get my residency and the money's going into my business. So I'm putting it towards myself, so I could very easily, invest into another business here that's like a hotel or I don't know, manufacture, whatever it is, and then that gives you your visa and you're just investing into it. But I'm investing into myself, basically. That makes sense. Yeah, that's my loophole. So as long as I keep my taxes and, do that right and keep a record of everything and actually have a legitimate business down here, I can reapply for my visa if it's either once a year or every 3 years. I can do that. And then after like 5 years, I can apply for like a long-term visa. And then after my long-term visa of 5 years, I can apply for my residency, full residency. But with my investor's visa and stuff, I still get like a cedula here. I still am like tapped into like everything here. So, like healthcare and all the good stuff.
Good. So it's working out for you.
Yeah, I mean, it's just like anything. If you were to do it in Canada, in the States, whatever, it's like a legal jargon pain in the butt,
Yeah.
and you're just like, what? I got to do this now? Oh my god! Oh, an extra
Uh-huh.
fee for that, of course.
Yeah.
Blah 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 blah. But all said and done, it'll be
Yeah.
worth it.
So you'll plan to
Um,
become like an actual citizen eventually then, if that's the place you want to settle down into.
yeah, or at least full resident. I think citizenship means I give up my Canadian citizenship. I
Oh,
don't
okay.
know. I'm still not really figuring that part out because I haven't gotten near
To
that
that
stage
point,
yet.
yeah.
So I haven't really like tried to look at it for now. Yeah. We'll see. If you were going to do something, there's a lot of companies. Like I'm working with a lawyer firm that like specializes in doing all of that kind of stuff. Yeah, I'm paying a little bit more money for them to get it all done for me, and I'm just kind of there getting this done, that done, whatever I need to do on my end.
Yeah.
Kind of, it's a lot easier. I'm not gonna lie. And since I was in quarantine, I couldn't go from like Medellin to Bogota, which is like, I feel like it's like a 16-hour bus ride or a
My
10-hour
gosh.
bus ride or something like that. Yeah. So it's like you have to go there, spend a night, go to like the right office, file the right paperwork, make sure it's all filled out correctly,
Yeah.
pay for that, go back to Medellin, wait 5 to 8 days, get this done, have the meeting with this person to get this piece of paper that gives you the permission to get that piece of paper. You know what I mean? Like all that like
Yeah.
ridiculous legal jargon. So I mean, the easiest way is just to have a kid or get married, but those
So
aren't
with
options
any
for me
country.
right now. Yeah. Those aren't options for me right now.
Yeah.
So
What about any advice for folks who are looking to break into the tourism industry or do something similar to you in tourism?
honestly, when it comes to tourism or just traveling, we can start. If you want to get into the tourism industry, I mean, it's so vast, and
Hmm.
any small, there's tourism in every town, really. I mean, when I was living in Burlington, we had like ghost tours, like downtown,
Yeah.
it's a form of tourism, really. Well, traveling around, honestly, the biggest advice I can give you is just go and do it. It's not as expensive as you think it's going to be. Plan a little bit, but don't plan too much, plan to be unexpected and just go with the punches, really. You'll never know what's going to happen. I would say if you were to open up a business somewhere, I would live in the area that you want to open up a business. Say like, you're like, you know what, this place is really cool. I visited there a few times, but really go to a place, find an apartment, live there for a while to see what it's like, because anywhere you're ever going to travel, that place changes, or you learn more about the place that you're living in the longer you're there. I've had friends, open up a business somewhere and they're like, oh, what am I doing here? This is a terrible place to live. I don't want to be here. I don't like it here. It might not be a terrible place to live, but it's just not them. You know what I mean? Just kind of taking the time to like suss it out. Definitely travel around more before you really set on the spot. I thought for sure I was going to live on the South Pacific side of Costa Rica, and here I am in the mountains of Colombia. Also, if you're going to get into the tourism industry, don't expect to be rich. You're going to make a living. You're going to live happily, but it's going to take you a long time before, you're rolling in dough, I guess you would say. You get a lot of perks, a lot of things for free, a lot of things in tourism work off commissions. You need to have the attitude for it. You have to be a very social, for
Hmm.
me personally, I'd say you need to be a very social, very patient, and open-minded person to work in tourism. You're working with people
Yeah.
basically all the time, 100% of the time. And you're working for them so they can have an amazing vacation. It's not about you, it's about them. So if those are some things or some qualities, as for example, if you ever worked in a restaurant and you hate serving people at a
Yeah, you won't
restaurant,
like it.
no, it's like the
It's
next
the same.
level,
Yeah.
But it's a great way to meet people. Yeah, I know people from all over the world now. If I wanted to
Hmm.
go somewhere, I can jump on a flight and find somebody to crash at their house, or they
Yeah.
can show me around their town. I think you definitely takes a certain type of person, but if it's something you think you want to get into or start by traveling, you know, stay at hostels. There will be times when it's not easy, you know, like traveling can get hard, you
Yeah.
know, bus breaks down on the side of the road. I've been robbed a
Oh my
few times.
gosh.
I've been held at gunpoint a couple times.
Whoa.
Maybe wrong place at the right time or the right place at the wrong time. I don't know. Just know that like sometimes you're going to be stuck on the side of a mountain at 3:00 in the morning with a broken bus in the middle of Peru. But just know that eventually you're going to be on a sunny beach somewhere in Panama, you know? So as long as you can keep an open mind, and tourism and travel is definitely a crazy, fun, interesting lifestyle. It never really gets boring, you know? If it starts to get boring, it's because you're making it boring for yourself, I think. You know?
Mm-hmm.
Like you asked me earlier, like, how do I continuously do a job? Does it ever get boring? It doesn't, because every time I go on a trip, there's always different people. So
Right.
it might be the same place, but it might be the same place, but it's different people, different people doing different things in the same place. It's always a little different, you know? Everybody in Colombia, like, how old are you? I'm like 35. They're like, you're still young. Don't worry.
Yeah.
Like, thanks, man. I feel it, you know? I think that's the big thing about like this job and this lifestyle is you sure as hell don't feel as old as you think you are, or you don't feel as old as you are, you know?
Yeah, I would imagine so, because you're constantly meeting new
Healthy
people
lifestyle,
and
doing stuff. Yeah,
you're
know?
interacting with groups of people. So just very sociable. Usually as people get older, they tend to isolate a little bit.
Become hermits. Keeps me young, that's for sure.
Good. I was going to ask you, like we talked about it a little bit earlier, does it ever, maybe you're used to it now because it's part of your job, but like, does it get draining for you meeting all these people and then it's like, you know, they're gone and you never interact with them again? Or have you just gotten used to it now? You just filter that out?
You know what? Now, I have a pretty thick filter. Sometimes I think I'm not human. I'm like, But like the people that I remember, like I do remember people. I keep in touch with some. When you have to be friends with everybody, like sometimes you forget that like there's actually people in this world that you actually do like to hang out with. If that makes sense, you know? So the ones that I do truly like to hang out with, I still keep in touch with. Not to say that the people I don't keep in touch with, I don't like to hang out with. People go back to their regular lives or start new adventures, I guess. And you just kind of in and out of touch every now and then, you know?
Do you want to do a plug for your business? I know you have a new business set up. Do you want to do another plug?
Plug for your business. Well, for sure. Well, I mean, anybody that's interested in traveling, absolutely check out Free and Easy Traveler, based out of Canada. Honestly, being a tour guide for that company has changed my life. And I still get messages from people these days being like, you and your trips changed my life. Thank you. You know, so if you're looking to get into traveling, if you're not sure about it, or you just want to go and not have to worry about it, honestly, that's the best way to start. They just started a new line of tours for us elderly, 27 plus, if you will.
That's elderly?
So, well, their tours are usually like 20 to 30.
Okay.
So now it's geared towards like 27 to 45.
Oh my gosh.
Nicer accommodations, you know. So that's kind of cool. If you like podcasts and stuff, I have my own podcast you can check out.
Yeah, check out Josh's podcast, Fink and Friends.
Fink and Friends. I got eight of them on there. Interviews with some of those crazy people that I've been talking about, like the one guy, John Michael, actually I meant to mention, from Medellin. Him and I sat down with a whole slew of beers and talked about him growing up in Medellin in the 80s and crazy things like him sleeping with Pablo Escobar's brother's girlfriend and living to tell
all the
tale
connections.
Oh, that's nuts. But if you ever find yourself in Colombia, honestly, here in Guatape, there's it's called Getaway. It's my bar here. It's a tasty little bar. I'm making the menu for it right now as we speak, actually. We also have rentals and like a sister hostel called Lakeview, which is really cool. If you're looking for something a little nicer, there's a place called Botanic Boutique, which is like awesome. I just love it there. It's super cool. It's this boutique hostel. It's got a jacuzzi over front of the lake, a giant like hammock net to hang out in, and those giant Zorb balls you can run around and hit, like bounce into each other. I don't know. I can keep going on and on about all these amazing places. You know, if you're ever in Nicaragua, take the flight over to the Corn Islands. Honestly, that place will fall in love. It is an adventure to get there, but one of those places that's not very known. And if you can get there, it's like the island, you know, from that movie, The Island. It's like, if that makes sense. Definitely.
Awesome. Thank you.
Well, thanks for listening to me blabble on about my life here.
Well, it was good catching up. And
yeah, for sure. I hope I was a good interviewer.
Yeah, you're moving like in 2 weeks, you said, to Palomino?
More or less, yeah, on the 22nd. Yeah.
Okay, good luck with the move. I'm sure everything will be great there for you.
I'll send you the links to some of the places I talked about.
Yeah.
Awesome.
I'm glad we got to do this. This is cool. Thanks for collaborating with me.
Oh, no, my pleasure.
Yeah, it was good catching up too after so long.
Yeah, definitely.
Alrighty, I'll talk to you soon. Bye.
Bye.
For more information on the places Josh discussed, check out the episode description. Until next time, take care. Well, what did you think? If you want to hear more, subscribe to the Unheard Voices podcast.